On September 28, 1972, all across Canada, people stopped what they were doing to tune into the deciding game between Canada and the Soviet Union. When Foster Hewitt uttered his now famous phrase, "Henderson has scored for Canada," the country erupted in spontaneous celebrations. The goal of the century had an incredible impact on Canada and on the life of the man who scored it, Paul Henderson.
Tonight we are making hockey history.
Canada had invented the game, and so there was no way in the world that some usurper was going to come along and dominate our game and take it.
We really didn't like each other at the end, you know, and it showed.
And I remember Phil Esposito even made the statement, "This is war."
When Paul scored, it was funny to see a hockey team in a dressing room in the States jumping around, kissing one another. We were so happy.
And we were jumping on each other, and all I could hear was, "We did it, we did it, we did it."
I don't think any of us were prepared for the impact it had on the country.
It's Canada's frozen moment. But people remember where they were standing, who they were with, what they were wearing.
People to this day, 40 years later, come up and say, "That was one of the greatest moments of my life when you scored that goal."
Hockey Canada and Paul Henderson is the ultimate trio.
I found out in November, 09, I have lymphocytic lymphoma, chronic leukemia. And so, man, it was like getting punched in the stomach. You know, cancer? How can I possibly have cancer?
I try to be strong, and I know the journey gets harder as you go along.
He has no fear. His faith is so strong that you have to marvel.
I know that God didn't give me cancer. I just refuse to worry about it. I try to live life as full as we can today, as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a citizen of this country.
I think he's had a much greater impact in his post-goal years, just in terms of the way that he has impacted people one-on-one.
He's one of the kindest guys I've ever met. He's just a real person.
Paul's one of the greatest encouragers in the world.
I know I'm a better person because of Paul, and not many people get to leave that legacy.
And our other hockey great, Ron Ellis, was on that 72 team as well, there in the Soviet Union. It was a clash of the West, our values, and the values of communism in the Soviet Union. Where were you when that goal was scored? I know where I was. A group of rather dull clergymen in Toronto. We were in a conference. Shut the whole thing down, went out into a back room of the church, turned on the game, and cheered like crazy fools. I remember where I was when that goal of the century was scored. Will you welcome, please, Ron Ellis and Paul Henderson. Come on, Paul, come.
Thank you.
Have a seat. Okay, gentlemen. That was... Now, Ron, what were you doing when he was scoring that goal?
Oh, I know where I was when Paul scored the goal. I was sitting on the players' bench.
Now, did you expect that goal?
Well, if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be my buddy Paul Henderson, that's for sure. It was getting down to the last few minutes, and maybe we'll let Paul share that story, but there's a wonderful story involved there where Paul actually called a teammate of ours off the ice, and that's how he got on the ice. But I helped him get on the ice. I stepped back so he could get on and not trip. So anyway, that's history now.
Now, okay, it's history. It's big history. Now, you are the public relations director for the Hockey Hall of Fame, right there in the corner of Front Street and Yonge Street, downtown Toronto. And that's, talk about Hall of Fame. He finally made it in the International Hall of Fame, Paul, just, a month ago or so?
I got in the back door.
In Sweden. But I couldn't believe, I just think, hey, this is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And that you two were buddies. And did we see the scoring of the goal yet? Okay, let's take a look. Huh? We did see it. We did? Yes or no? Do you want to see it again?
I was general manager and coach of the team.
I was at St. Thomas More School in grade 8 in Mississauga.
I was living in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
So I was standing in a corner store somewhere south of Aurelia.
I was in my grade 10 business class, and my teacher said, I'm never going to do this again, and I've never done it before, but I'm going to wheel in the TV and we're going to watch hockey.
They rolled in those TVs on the stands, and they put about 6 or 7 TVs all throughout the auditorium.
We were on the ice, and with about 10 minutes to go in the game, our trainer come out. They're tied, get out here, get out here.
It's Canada's frozen moment. 34 seconds left. Puck goes in.
Here's another shot. Right in front. They score! Henderson has scored for Canada.
When Paul scored, I exploded up in the air. I ripped the arm off the chair.
Well, there was just a huge cheer, and I remember the teachers were congratulating each other.
People remember where they were standing, who they were with, what they were wearing.
When Paul scored, it was funny to see a hockey team in a dressing room, in the States, jumping around, kissing one another. We were so happy.
It was amazing, and I'll never forget it.
It was a wonderful hockey moment that's etched in my memory forever.
I love that shot of a former prime minister, Deef the Chief, when the goal went, he went, ah! and then remembered his dignity and sat back down again quickly. Paul, you've been diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
What was your reaction when you heard the news?
Well, I was really surprised. I mean, I really taken care of myself. I was in good shape, and they did an ultrasound and found a whole raft of growth in my stomach, and so it was certainly a kick in the stomach.
And Ron, you were keeping tabs on this guy all along, I'm sure. And both of you have found an amazing sense of, could I say, usefulness since your hockey careers came to an end. And we're going to explore that in just a few moments. But I want you to take a look at this, Paul's cancer diagnosis. Here's a clip from the video, Canada Heart and Soul, Goal of the Century.
They did an ultrasound on my stomach, and just to make sure everything was fine, and found some growths. And so found out in November, I have 2009, I have lymphocytic lymphoma, chronic leukemia. And so, man, it was like getting punched in the stomach. That, you know, cancer? How can I possibly have cancer?
I was totally taken off guard by him having cancer. But when I was really stunned is when, I guess it was about our second visit with the oncologist, and he said, well, you know, it's at stage 4. It means multiple places. It's not like stage 4 of another tumor type of cancer that is very advanced.
Through this difficult time, both Eleanor and Paul are leaning heavily on their faith in God.
I know that God didn't give me cancer, but I know He's very aware that I have cancer. And I said, okay, Lord, if this is my lot, then I need your help. And I unashamedly pray for help every morning. But I have no fear of dying whatsoever. I know where I'm going. And man, I've lived 69 years. I'm 69. My dad died at 49, so I have no complaints about anything.
You know, the hockey career, Paul, was your destiny. Now, I'm going to turn this over and find out when Ron first, in the Memorial Cup championship and so on. But you were born on the ice of Georgian Bay, a sled taking your mother to the hospital. Your father was overseas, World War II, and you didn't make it to the hospital. I mean, that sounds like destiny to me. He was born in a sled on the ice of Georgian Bay.
Lake Huron, actually.
Oh, Lake Huron. Oh, it wasn't. Okay, well, Georgian Bay is
close enough. Close enough.
Off Lake Huron there somewhere. Now, Ron, tell me about your birth.
Little old hospital in Lindsay, Ontario.
In Lindsay, okay.